into the future where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
It would not be much of a universe if it wasn't home to the people you love. Stephen Hawking, who has passed away at the age of 76. English theoretical physicist. He was known for being Stephen Hawking is what he was known for. But to those in the scientific community, he was known for absolutely groundbreaking work with relativity and black holes. He was the author of all sorts of books, popular science books, books that were significant to the scientific community, and books that crossed over and became something that we all read, like A Brief History of Time, which sold over 10 million copies. His legacy will last forever. Now, I think for those of us, average, everyday folks who really have absolutely no idea what a guy like Stephen Hawking is talking about most of the time, I think his courage and persistence and his sense of humor are the big takeaways from his life. This was a guy who was given a Time's Up manifesto from doctors in his early 20s, I think. He was born in 1942 in Oxford, in England. He earned a place at Oxford University to read natural science in 1959 before studying for his PhD at Cambridge. But in 1963, he was diagnosed with motor neuron disease and given, wait for it, 2 years to live. 2 years. So, you do the math, Travis. This is how little we know about what Stephen Hawking... This is how little we understand what Stephen Hawking was talking about. 1963. How long ago was that, Travis? Can you help me out on this one? Help me out with the incredibly difficult math.
Oh, God. I haven't opened up a calculator, and I'm like, this isn't calculator math.
This is not calculator math.
It's a long time. It's a long time. I don't know.
Well, let's see. 1963, 37 plus 18 is, go on.
That's calculator math. And I closed the calculator.
56. He lived 56 additional years. He was given 2 to live. He made it 56.
I think it would have been easier if you did the 76 minus the 21.
Right. It's the cloth head's take on mathematics. You know what's sad? You know what's sad, Travis? And literally everyone else who's gone through something similar to this. I was never that great at math. Like, sort of, algebra kind of evaded me. But I was really, really good at geometry in school. And not only that, I was great at doing things like long division. I could do long division in my head. And I don't know exactly how I did it. I just kind of figured out a workaround. I used to spit out the answer to the long division questions in math where I was getting a D-, and people would be like, how are you doing this? And the teacher would be like, don't pay much attention to him. It's just a trick. I'm like, yeah, it's a trick of being good at math. Why are you flunking me? She was like, because you don't know how to do these equations. I was like, checkmate. But I used to be able to do this stuff, like long division in my head without even thinking about it. Literally now I'll forget my wallet, but I'll discover $1.50 in my pants and be like, okay, I'm at 7-Eleven. I got this candy bar. This candy bar costs 78 cents. I got another candy bar that also costs 78 cents. Can I afford it with what I've got? I'll just have the one candy bar because the math is too hard. So
I thought you were going to do it. As for me, I'd grab both candy bars and push the money over to the human and be like, is this enough? Do I have enough to get 2 candy bars?
You do the math. Okay, fine. Use the barcode if you don't feel like challenging yourself. But my point is, Stephen Hawking, who was Exhibit A, significantly smarter than any of us.
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking was given 2 years to live back in 1963. If you found out that you only had 2 years left on this planet, what would you do with it? He acted as if he had all the time in the world. He didn't stop. And in doing so, he gave the world so much. He smashed the boundaries of his doctor's preconceptions about what was possible, and then he went on to smash science's boundaries of what was possible. He lived solely on borrowed time for over 50 years. And in that time, he managed to change our perception of the world and our perception of what was possible in it. Watch the movie about his life, Theory of Everything. And if you take one thing away from the life and times of Stephen Hawking, let it be that anything is possible, and that, as he said, it would not be much of a universe if it wasn't home to the people you love. Thank you so much.
Let's start the show. Real radio. 104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
If you're just joining us, we were talking about the late, great Stephen Hawking, who passed away at the age of 76. Despite the fact that he was told he had only 2 years left to live when he was in his early 20s. He made the absolute most of every second he had on this earth, knowing that it was running out. You know who knew that his time was running out and did not accomplish that much with it? Rex Tillerson. We'll go through his final hours during his Whitehouse gig a little later on in the show.
I think it's too soon. It's too soon for those.
Oh, I mean, hey, if Donald Trump can announce his firing on Twitter, including the announcement of his replacement, like, he didn't even get his own tweet. Like, when a baseball player is let go, when they're designated for assignment, the Twitter account for the baseball team says, we have designated this player for assignment. Not, we have designated this player for assignment, and here's who's replacing him. This is who we've got our eye on. Oh, man, happy days are here again. This person who we didn't see eye to eye with is gone, but this other person, man, he's going to be great. Great, I tell you, great. Congratulations to him, and thanks to that other guy. Goodbye. Like, Tillerson didn't even get his own tweet. He didn't get the dignity of the announcement of his being canned. He didn't even get all the Twitter characters possible. He had to share them with his replacement.
He cried. Did
he cry? I must have missed that.
He was...
Did he cry when he was fired? Because I know he made one sort of like final statement to the press where he was like, okay, and be very afraid about Russia. Be very afraid about Russia. Like, I paraphrase, of course, because I didn't actually see it. But I know he had sort of like one final speech before he was... He was
breaking up in it.
Oh, now I feel guilty. Thanks very much. You're making me feel guilty about Rex Tillerson. Of all the people that you shouldn't be wasting feelings of guilt on.
It was sad. It was sad.
Exxon Mobil executive and crooked politician, and I suddenly feel bad for hurting his feelings. Thanks a lot, Travis.
He's going to be wiping his eyes with $100 bills because it feels better.
The guys in Matchbox 20, I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember Matchbox 20?
I love Matchbox 20.
Matchbox 20 at one point were like this cool little alternative band. Nobody really knew about them. They were this sort of like they had one hit, and it's hard to imagine because right now they are, viewed as yesterday's soccer mom music. But they were legitimately the biggest band in the world at one point. Sold something like 20 million albums, ridiculous numbers of hits, and they were the property of alternative rock for like one single. Alternative rock were like, yay, these are our new saviors. And then they became the biggest band in the world. And oftentimes when you're in that situation, when you are a band who is everybody's little secret and their favorite new band, and they don't have to share you with anyone, and they can go to the shows and there's like 25 people there and they get to hang out with you on the bus afterwards. They feel like you're their property. And then you blow up and they get a little bit resentful. Well, the alternative rock community turned on Matchbox 20 and turned fiercely back in the day when they became the biggest band on the planet. I'll never forget the guitar player. The guitar player of Matchbox 20 said something when they got a lousy review in Rolling Stone. He's like, oh no, perhaps I'll commit suicide. Maybe by jumping off my wallet. I was just like,
oh my God. I actually first knew Matchbox 20 when they were Tabitha's Secret.
Oh wow, you really do go back a long way with that band. A buddy of mine brought a band called Tabitha's Secret to the attention of a record label, to I believe the guy Matt Serletic, who wound up signing and producing them. I think that was the dude. But like I thought I was like the only person on this planet that knew they used to be called Tabitha's Secret, which is a terrible name for a band. Matchbox 20 is only slightly less befuddling, but
I'm not a huge Matchbox 20 fan like now. I don't listen to Matchbox 20 records or anything.
By the way, I'd like to congratulate us on transitioning seamlessly from Rex Tillerson to Matchbox 20 in their original name, all in the space of about 35 seconds. Are other talk radio shows going to give this? No, they're not. But go on. What about Matchbox 20 now?
If you're a Matchbox 20 fan, like go to YouTube or something and look up Tabitha's Secret. Like if you like the older Matchbox 20 songs, listen to the versions when they were Tabitha's Secret, because they're actually really cool. Like I'm not a huge Matchbox 20 fan now, but I liked them in the very beginning when they were more of a rock band. And yeah, that's the first, like, the days of Napster and Kazaa. That's how I got introduced to Tabitha's Secret, which is now Matchbox 20. It's crazy.
There you go. Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20 was doing sort of like a little solo tour going around radio stations, and he was he wasn't visiting my radio station, he was visiting the Soccer Mom station down the hall. But like I'm wandering the halls with Millhouse, and Matchbox 20 guy is there, and he sees Millhouse and he's like, "Oh, who's a cute little puppy?" And like Millhouse goes up to him and he bonded with Millhouse, and he showed me pictures of his dog, who actually looks a lot like Millhouse. He's like, "I miss my dog. I needed that. Thank you so much." Cut to, I'm walking Millhouse outside a little later on, and he's leaving in his heavily armored security guard car or whatever the hell it is. And there's all these sort of aging, seen better days, pulled out outfits from the 90s groupie women standing outside waiting for him, and they wave and they're like, "Hi Rob, come over here, sign this, you want to see my boobs?" All the, like, really kind of like, and he just walks right by him, has nothing to do with him. And then he gets out of his car, comes back, and all the girls are like, "Oh, he's coming to say hello to us, he is gonna sign our boobs, he is gonna sign our boobs." And he stops and he gives Millhouse a hug, gets back in his car and goes. And the women, I've never seen women give dogs a dirty look before the way they did. They were like, "Oh, his affections were ousted by a puppy. We hate your puppy." I was just like, hey, not cool. Not cool at all. It's not my fault. Millhouse is better looking than you. Money making, skills on the mic, you get paid every day, and you're part of the battle, just better act like you know.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on.
So as we speak, Rex Tillerson is probably consoling himself in the way he usually does when he meets one of life's little setbacks. He's probably currently swimming Scrooge McDuck style through pools of ExxonMobil cash and managing somehow to feel better about his current situation. But nevertheless, while he's doing just fine and dandy and will continue to do so for the rest of his time on this earth, we will kind of twist the knife a little bit by taking a look at his last couple of days as a member of Donald Trump's White House, and discussing exactly what the straw could have been that broke the proverbial camel's back. Do you think it was Iran, or do you think it was Kim Jong? I think it was Kim Jong. That's what I think.
I think it was a mixture of everything. I think this has been a long time coming. I think this is, I'm shocked that it lasted as long as it did.
Well, we'll get into the whys and wherefores a little later on in the show after we discuss the fact that today, you know what today is, Travis? What's today's date?
Today is, oh my God.
It is March 14th. Yes. When you write the numbers out, what is that?
314.
And what is that?
3.14.
Yeah, today, my friend, is National Pie Day, which is big for math nerds and for people who like pizza discounts. Today is March 14th, 314, also known as National Pie Day because the number pi starts with 3.14. According to a new survey, 55% of Americans say they're planning on celebrating Pie Day. How does one celebrate Pie Day, Travis, do you suppose?
I would suppose that you either eat pie of the pie variety or that you would eat pie of the pizza variety.
Yes, pie, pizza, or any other circular food, apparently. 43% of us will celebrate by eating pie, pizza, or some form of food in a circle shape. 16% of people will post about it on social media, and 15% will go for wait for it, what do you think the CrossFit nerd way of celebrating Pie Day is?
I don't even want to know. I hate CrossFit so much.
Going for a 3.14 mile run.
Of course. Of course.
Apparently, 11%... This study of Pie Day, 11% of people say they're math nerds, and 2% of them say that they have a pie tattoo. Now, if you've got a pie tattoo, that's pretty serious stuff.
Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah,
it's kind of the kind of person that I'd probably avoid. That's just kind of weird.
Yep. Well, one more thing. If you want to celebrate by eating, there are a lot of chains offering, get this, Pie Day discounts. You can get good discounts on pizza at Blaze Pizza, Pieology, Hungry Howie's, Whole Foods, and a whole bunch more. There's a list online, which I'll tweet out at ADSXE, of places offering discounts on pie and other circular foodstuffs today. But yes, today is Pie Day, and 55% of Americans say they will celebrate it. The other 45% of Americans have had the sex, so they don't find it as necessary.
So you'll be celebrating.
I'll be celebrating twice. 2 pizzas, compounding the consolation of my lack of a sex life. All right. We'll talk about Tillerson a little later on. Right now, though, let's get to what's going on in the world of news, Travis.
Arnold Schwarzenegger plans to sue the big oil companies for first-degree murder.
That's
yeah.
What is with Arnie these days? Like, what's his dealy deal? Like, he seems to have gotten progressively more and more out there, and I guess he said it's sort of similar to tobacco companies. Going after big oil is like going after big tobacco.
It's weird. I just don't. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand his. I don't understand like where he's going with it. That's what's so confusing. At least with the tobacco thing, it's pretty obvious.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger, I guess, is more about activism these days than acting or politics. And if you've seen some of his more recent films, you're probably okay with that. Here's his next project. He's going to sue the major oil companies for, quote, knowingly killing people all over the world, end quote. He said, quote, this is no different from the smoking issue. The tobacco industry knew for years and years and years and decades that smoking would kill people, would harm people, and create cancer, and they were hiding that fact from the people and denied it. The oil companies knew from 1959 on. They did their own study that there would be global warming happening because of fossil fuels, and on top of it, that it would be risky for people's lives, that it would kill. He said, I don't think there's any difference. If you walk into a room and you know that you're going to kill someone, it's first-degree murder. I think it's the same thing with the oil companies. Arnold said that he's going after the oil industry hard, but at the very least, he hopes that he's going to raise awareness and encourage people to explore alternative fuels. So there's that. This is the same guy that was driving a Hummer around for a little while, saying that, like, if you didn't drive a Hummer, you were a little girly man. So the source from whence it came is a little, pot, kettle, black, glass houses, stones. Stop throwing them around there. I mean, I admire what he's doing in terms of, encouraging people to search for alternative fuels, but do you think his message, his sensible message of, hey, maybe there's different ways to to make the world turn, is tainted by his statement of, I'm going to sue the entirety of the global oil industry?
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't hold my breath on not finding him on an airplane or driving a car or on a cruise ship or on a boat. I mean, how in the world do you use any of these forms of transportation at this point when you've made this statement without looking like a complete moron?
Yeah. No, you're going to have to...
Seriously.
I mean, I guess, there's a very good chance that he could be in electric cars literally all the time. Good luck flying an electric airplane. Maybe it's possible, but you first. I don't think I'm ready to give that one a go just yet. And I'm quite sure he flies a lot. So, yeah, going after the oil companies for first-degree murder, whilst and at the same time being a person that travels by air, is a bit of a stretch. Although that's the thing, that's the weird thing. Like, I kind of admire the motivation for it. If all he wants to do is get people to consider alternative fuels as opposed to oil, freaking great. I just wish he wouldn't have gone about it in such a silly way. I mean, look, the main source of power for years and years and years was whale oil. We've managed to move on from that. We're no longer whaling. We're no longer, burning whale oil to provide light and power and things of that nature. So it stands to reason that the world is going to move on at some point from oil, alternative fuel sources, alternative ways of powering things. It's great to keep an open mind to this stuff. But yeah, when you consider the source, it sort of waters down the message a scotch. There you go. And besides, a lawsuit against the oil industry probably won't go too far because they're just going to follow it up with a countersuit on him for Jingle All the Way. I want my $12 back, and I think other people will agree. Go on.
The Shape of Water director Guillermo del Toro is getting divorced.
Yeah, life's a funny old thing. One moment you're riding high, everything's going your way. An Oscar-winning director like Guillermo del Toro is having like literally the best year of his life, and then all of a sudden his wife dumps him. Like, he wasn't even able to rest on the Oscar-winning laurels for that long. Honestly, I can kind of understand where she's coming from, only because I wouldn't want to be married to someone who made fish porn either. That would just be a deal breaker for me. Have you seen Shape of Water?
I haven't even heard of it, to be honest with you.
What?
I know. I don't know what it is. I don't have a clue.
Oh, I know what it is. You live on a boat. You don't watch a lot of TV. Therefore, you haven't seen all the ads for it. The end.
I think you covered it. Turns out you knew exactly what it was.
Yep, that's what...
I'm an idiot.
Crack the code on that one. Go on.
President Trump welcomed the world champion Houston Astros at the White House yesterday.
Did you see the picture of Jose Altuve just like completely? Now who knows? Like, when asked about it, Altuve is such a decent human being. At least he knows how to talk to the press like he's a decent human being. Like, who knows? He's Houston's hero, and therefore he's kind of our hero. And he's an absolutely amazing player and seems to be a stellar human being and is a great representative for the game and a great representative for Houston. But he was shooting Trump the dirtiest of dirty looks doing it. Either that, or he was really concentrating on something in an aggressive manner that was next to Trump, and the camera caught him doing it. Oh, you haven't seen the picture?
No.
Oh man, he's
now I'll have to Google it.
Oh man, it's all over the interwebs right now, and I actually feel bad for Jose Altuve on this one because he's just on the field he is the most incredible baseball player around at the moment. Off the field, he's a fantastic ambassador for the sport, and there's nothing that's going to get in the way of you being a decent human being like politics. And it's just, maybe he genuinely dislikes Trump and he gave him a dirty look, but the camera caught that, and I think he's going to take heat for it, and it's not fair.
Oh, I do see it. Oh my God, yeah. I just looked at it. Oh, it's such a... Now, I would like to see the video of this situation. Have you seen video of it, or did you just see the still?
There's video of Springer as well, where Trump turns around and goes, "Where's Springer?" and then shakes his hand, and Springer's all smiles, and then Trump turns back around and starts addressing the crowd. Immediately frown. So yeah, Altuve and Springer are caught on camera looking like they're not the biggest Trump fans on the face of the planet. So,
well, you know what? At least they were nice about it. At least they. You can't help it if the camera catches stuff. They were polite. They didn't make a big scene out of it. I mean, what are you going to do? And maybe it was nothing. Maybe they actually liked the guy, and it just looks bad on TV. It's hard to say.
Who knows? I feel lousy for them because they're going to catch flack for it. There's going to be some people that say and do horrible things that they really don't deserve. And anyways, I think Donald Trump in general has trouble identifying with baseball players because, they grab their own crotches. It's a strange concept to him. Go on.
President Trump is in Southern California to look at prototypes of the wall and to attend a fundraiser.
Yeah, at least that's what he's telling Melania. I think he was going to visit Silicon Valley, and then he was like, nah, let's leave Stormy out of this. Yeah. Sorry, that was low-hanging comedic fruit. That was cheap. Fans of Trump understand I did that for the cheap ha-has and the hee-hees. Nothing more, nothing less. Do you see the wall samples? It was kind of like going to Home Depot to pick out paint or carpet or something like that. Apparently, he was presented with 8 30-foot high wall samples that were built to offer an array of wall options for the wall that Trump promised to put up along the U.S.-Mexico border. Let's just make a bet here right now, Travis. Do you think the wall is going to get built? Okay, all right, wait. I got 2 different questions for you. 1, do you think the wall is going to be built? 2, I'll move the goal back significantly. Do you think brick 1 of that wall is ever going to get put into place? Because look, the amount of time it's going to take to build that wall, if it ever gets done, Trump will probably be dead and gone, I'm guessing. He's no spring freaking chicken. And I think the projected time to build something like that would have him, he'd be in the Guinness Book of World Records for being freaking old. Setting a new Guinness Book of World Record for freaking old Donald Trump, alive when the wall built. Like, there's no way he's going to be alive when this thing sees completion, if it ever sees completion. So, bearing in mind that it's his promise to keep, and he's keeping it because he made a promise, and he has to be seen to be keeping a promise, or he might genuinely believe the wall works or is the best option. Potato. Do you think A, it's ever going to get built? Do you think B, brick 1 of the wall is ever going to go up? Have a think about your answer. Feel free to tweet me at ADSXE. I'm very curious to know. Do you think the first wall is ever going in place? And do you think it'll be completed?
What do you think? Do you think no?
I think brick 1 of the wall might get put down, but I think that it's going to wind up being so unbelievably expensive and take so long that there's going to come a point where people go, and also, like, it's a wall. People find ways to get over walls or go under walls or in some way, shape, or form get around walls. Like, will it improve border security? Possibly, but I think it will wind up costing more money than... Stay tuned. This is a very deep conversation that we can't finish off before we got to go to commercial.
Sometimes you just know you're done. You're longing for that shining sun. You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away.
More AD on the radio.
So we'll talk about the last days of Rex Tillerson a little later on in the show. Right now, though, to return to our earlier question, Donald Trump, and you can feel free to hit the news bed on this one, Travis. We're still technically in what is the news, but Donald Trump is in Southern California at the moment doing a whole bunch of different things. First and foremost, he is inspecting wall samples. Not unlike we would go to the store to look at carpet samples or perhaps paint samples. He's looking at 8 different 30-foot high samples of walls that were built to offer an array of options for the wall he promised to erect along the U.S.-Mexico border. The question that we asked before the break was, do you think, and the question is twofold, do you think the wall will ever be completed? And if you don't believe that the wall will be completed, do you ever think brick 1 of that wall will be put into place? Travis, go ahead.
God, it's so hard to say. Do I think that Trump wants to do it? Yes. Do I think that Trump will find a way to fund it? Yes. Do I think that Congress has the ability to actually pass a law to put the wall up, I kind of have my doubts. I'm among the 5% of people, or let me say I'm among the 95% of people who is not very impressed with Congress. So do I think that Trump wants to build a wall? Yes, I do. Do I think that Congress actually has
the ability to get something done? Literally anything at all done ever? No.
Probably not. Probably not. So you know what? I'm going to say, as much as I want to say yes and yes, I'm going to say no and no.
I mean, here's the thing. I am all for border security being increased. Absolutely, 100%. I don't think the wall is going to get the job done. And I don't think that, look, the wall, if it does get finished, Donald Trump will have been warm food for a long time. Like, this thing is a massive undertaking that will take years and years and years. And unless it finds a way to be cash positive, I think people were sold on the idea of the wall because it was basically the idea of, hey, look, illegal immigrants are coming in here, coming into America, and they are managing to essentially pick your pocket. They are essentially imagining to take the clothes off of your back and the food off of your table and the roofs from your heads. The expenses build up, whether they be legal expenses, whether they be medical expenses, whether they be any of the above. And we are coming out of one of the greatest recessions in the history of modern America. And so I think a big part of the motivation to get the wall built was a financial one. I'm not trying to reduce us to a worship of money in America, but I think a lot of people are going, times are really hard. Why are times so hard? Well, there's some popular schools of thought that say without the illegal immigration problem that we've got in America, we'd be more fiscally secure. What do people want when it comes to a solution to their financial problems? They want things to be better now. They want their day to change. They want their way of life to be improved. And when people realize, oh my gosh, it's going to be another 15, 20, 25 years of digging into our pockets, taking more of our hard-earned tax dollars and funneling them into this thing for a benefit that we're never going to see. I would imagine some way, if the wall does start getting built, I would imagine some way around the 5 or 6 year mark, people will go, we've spent how much money on this thing? I don't have that much time left on this earth. I'm this many years from retirement. What the hell? No more. It's a black hole that's sucking money into it. No, I think that even the people that are into the wall, when the realization of the expense becomes a reality, that's when people are going to start going, oh, this isn't going to make change in my lifetime. Therefore, can we spend my hard-earned tax dollars on something that will? That's me. And there's maybe wall supporters around that are screaming at their radios right now going, you don't get it. You don't get the big picture. But I think that there's a good chance of that happening. Does that sound fair, Travis?
It sounds fair. So many people have floated ideas of, seriously, how to make Mexico pay for it. So the frustrating thing for me is why we're not pursuing those. But the realistic part of this whole situation is the concept that, a president has to sell this idea to the American people that they have the ability to do things like build a wall. Although they want to, I think he wants to build a wall, but when the reality hits that Congress is the one who writes laws, and you see that Congress can't seem to do anything, it's kind of the swallowing of sadness where you realize that, Trump really does want to, but he can't. He can't do it.
And I think he knows that. I think he knows that Congress isn't going to get it done. I think he knows it won't get done. But I think he also knows that, oh, man, so many people voted for me because of this wall.
Oh, yeah.
Melania, I'm going to go to SoCal for a little bit and look at wall samples. It's a thing that I got to do to save face. I know. Well, at least they're not our dollars putting Air Force One in the air for us to travel there as a taxpayer, so that's cool. They voted me in. They'll be cool with it. All right, okay. What was interesting to me was Donald Trump's choice of appropriate wall material. Did you see what he chose?
Is it carpet?
No, it's not. It's a nice maroon shag. No, some of these walls were made of solid concrete. Others were made from blends of materials, including metal and slats. Donald Trump thought the metal slat situation would be the best to secure the country's southern border because they're going to be see-through.
Okay.
He said you have to see through. You have to know what's on the other side of the wall. You could be 2 feet away from a criminal cartel and not even know they're there.
Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense.
Because they're marching around in their criminal cartel uniforms, wearing Raiders jerseys, talking about how great it is to be a bad hombre.
Oh my God. Okay.
So easy to spot.
I see what you did there.
Yes.
Now I feel stupid.
You know, the one way I think you could get the wall done is if you could find a way to make it cash positive. So one idea that was floated out there, and I don't know anything about what it costs to build a solar freaking panel. I just don't. But Donald Trump said, hey, some people have even suggested we could put solar panels along the wall and provide a great, clean alternative energy source. Now that's some thinking that I think could get people to be like, we need greater border security, and if it cuts down America's carbon footprint, maybe, just maybe. Like, I think if you found a way to either put money in the American taxpayer's pocket or save them some money with this wall, immediately, not 5, 10, 15, 25 years down the road, if and when the wall gets built, then perhaps you stand a chance of getting Congress to pull the trigger on it. Until then, I don't think so.
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KBRC, more stimulating talk radio.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is.
The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So I guess my next question about Donald Trump's visit to SoCal is, are we in another space race now? Is this a thing for us?
A space race, like when it comes to the wall?
No. Besides the wall, besides looking at wall samples and deciding that having slats in the wall so you could see through it, just in case there was a drug cartel right on the other side of it.
Yeah. Good call.
Be like, hey, I see you, drug cartel.
You get away from that wall.
Yeah.
Don't you even think about it.
Don't you even think of it.
Oh my gosh.
We, the American people, see you.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, beyond that, Donald Trump talked to our military. He gave a speech. He talked to our armed forces. He promised the troops a pay raise. That's pretty cool because that's the sort of thing people remember, you know, and if there's people that I feel like deserve a bump in pay, that would be the folks willing to take their lives in their hands in the name of our safety and our liberty and our freedom and all of the above. Pay the troops more. Absolutely. Now, personally, if you were to ask me, while money in the pocket of troops is a good thing, I'd be interested. And look, I'm not a veteran. I don't have a say in this and my opinion doesn't count, but I do know that we still live in a world where, and I bring this up because it's important that we don't forget. I do know that we live in a world where, at least in America, I think it's 1 out of every 3 homeless men is a veteran. So bumping up the rate of pay whilst in the military service, great. But perhaps we could have a look into reassimilating people that have been built to die in the name of our freedom back into society so that we can get those numbers down a scotch so that people cannot feel discarded after they're willing to give all in the name of our country and our safety and our freedom. And if we could take better care of the people that are willing to die for us after the fact, that would be just great. But a pay raise for the troops, all for it. That's cool. He also said he would buy new military aircraft. But the thing that had me scratching my head, because I didn't realize it was such a big issue, he pledged to push for more space exploration, including a trip to Mars. And that made me go, hold on a second. Are we in a new space race? Trip to Mars. Is this the new gold standard? Are we now worried that Russia is going to make it to Mars before us, or China, or perhaps North Korea? Like, at what point did a trip to Mars become part of the agenda for our president and for us as a country? I mean, I know it's been something we've talked about, but am I missing something here? Like, are we in this space race, Travis?
The biggest space race that I think is going on, and I could be completely unaware of another space race that's happening, and I'm just not privy to this information, but the biggest space race that I'm aware of is, I guess you could say, like government versus private.
Trump versus Elon Musk.
Yes. All joking aside, yes, you've got a ton of private space companies out there. You got SpaceX, Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic. I think there's other
Jeff Bezos is trying to get us to space.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, he owns a company that's building a rocket that could potentially take us to Mars. If you want to get there in under 24 hours, you got to pay a little extra for a rocket to Mars Prime, but it's going to be really cool apparently. So I guess there's like a private sector space race going on right now. And do you think it would undermine, look, do you feel as though we as a people have that much confidence in our government? Because I don't. I feel like at one point we did, and it's been eroded away for the past 10, 15 years. Maybe it was the naivete of youth, but I felt as though there was a certain amount of trust and faith placed in our government. And I feel like it's getting less and less. And I think you bring up a good point, Travis. If we, the American people, beat the American government to Mars, what does that then say about the rest of their operation? I know you've got your military, but we're going to be using Jeff Bezos's military prime. And like I said, you got to pay a little bit more, but the troops can be here in under 24 hours if you pay a little bit extra. Like, we're going to be using Militia to Go. I've got an app. It's going to be great. Like,
it's true though.
I think there's some legitimacy to this. If the look, you know, the whole amendment, the second one, the one that people cling to every single time they talk about their rights to own guns.
Oh, that one.
You know that one, right? That one. So what's a big part of that one? The whole thing about tyranny. What's that part of it, Travis?
The whole concept of protecting yourself from that government.
From tyranny, and what was the other tyranny? And you should be allowed to assemble well-regulated militias, I believe. Yes. Now, an interesting argument in the days of muskets and musket powder. But when I talked to a buddy of mine a little while ago, a guy who was a special ops dude, I was like, look, you're a gun owner. You're all for guns. Do you think that part of it holds much water anymore? He was like, no. And hear me on this one. I'm not trying to take away anyone's rights, but it's reality check time. My buddy was like, I am all in favor of my ability to own a gun and have a gun in the home, and I need to be able to protect myself should I feel the need to do so. But the days of being able to take on the government if they get out of hand with your AR-15, that's not a thing anymore. Unless you've got air-to-ground support that can put he used these words, unless you've got air-to-ground support that can put a bullet in every square inch of a football field in under a second, then you don't have firepower that can compete with the militaries. Unless you've got Donald Trump's nuke button in your home, that ship has sailed. So the balance of power with regard to the government and the people has been skewed for a very, very long time. And the idea of taking it back with guns, well, that ship has sailed. But the idea of stealing even more of the confidence that we have in the government by doing things like beating them to Mars, I think that's a much more clear and present threat to the tyranny. I'm going to sound like a tinfoil hat libertarian whack job now, but to the tyranny that, quite frankly, I think we've been experiencing in this country for years, regardless of administration. Oh, snap. Did he just say that? Yes, he did. So I'm all in favor of us getting to Mars before NASA does. So maybe we are in a space race. Did I completely go off the deep end there, Travis? Do you feel the need to rein me in at all?
Truthfully, I don't. Which is kind of weird because I know it's kind of, some people would look at that and be like, that's some pretty, not out there stuff, but that's some pretty serious stuff. But no, everything you said is very accurate. From all I can tell. The funny thing about the space race, it will be very interesting to see how privatized it gets. You wouldn't believe. I mean, I live in Houston. You lived in Houston for so long. So NASA, huge NASA installations here. I have a lot of friends who work for NASA, and the amount of not only paperwork to get anything done, but the amount of waste. I mean, I had friends who were still working on projects for years after the project had literally been defunded by the government. Like, they knew that they would no longer be using this technology, but the grants had already been issued, or the money had already been funded for certain aspects of the project. So they've been working on it for 2 years, and this project would never get off the ground. And you look at that and you go, how is this possible?
the American government is very well known for wasting vast sums of money, but they're not very well known for paying people vast sums of money when they are, quote unquote, the brightest and best, which is why Travis and I both know rocket scientists, literal rocket scientists with second and third jobs.
Yeah. No joke. Seriously.
And so if an Elon Musk comes along and says, hey, come on over here, check this out. You know what this is? This is a suitcase full of money. Guess what's in there? What you're worth. How would you like to not have to worry about, making mortgage payments on your crappy condo while working a second and third job? Just worry about the rocket scientist part, and I'm going to pay you what you're worth. And all of a sudden, like I said, Jeff Bezos could be running Rocket to Mars Prime, and we could be there back and forth.
Yeah, not only that, but the whole concept that, you know what, we're going to try a project. And if it doesn't look like it's working and it's not going to do what we want, then we're going to bail out of the project. And we can do that because we're a private company. We don't have to continue working on things that are failed and we know it's not going to happen. We can actually try something, and if it doesn't work, we can try something else. Whereas the government, it'll take you years to get approvals to change direction, especially once all these other stages are already funded or already approved. That'll never happen in the government, but it will happen in private sector.
Plus, if you're paying normal people prices as opposed to going like, $73 per nut and bolt. All right, that sounds fair. Let's where do we sign? Okay. We've got plenty of taxpayer money to cover that. If you're paying what, people that shop around and compare prices shop, then gosh darn it, we could actually wind up getting there faster and under budget compared to what the government does. Yeah, sorry. This is a wormhole, not unlike one in space that we could go down forever. And I'm going to get mad about government overspending and how it's absolutely freaking ridiculous. And we should probably, while we've still got time, talk a little bit about the last moments of Tillerson. So, what do you think it was that broke the camel's back in this particular case? Do you think it was Iran? Do you think it was Kim Jong?
I think it was all of them. I mean, and I know that's kind of like an easy way to get out of the situation without actually answering the question. I think that he was a bad fit.
Or I'm just going to throw this one out there. Was this basically the inevitable after Tillerson called Donald Trump a moron? Like when you call him a moron.
I think it had to do with it. I mean, I think it really did. I think the moron comment, if nothing else, was the writing on the wall that this wasn't going to last. But
yeah, like if my boss found out that I'd called them a moron, I wouldn't expect to be working at this company for all that much longer.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No. This was a nightmare from the beginning. They disagreed on way too much. There was the Iran deal. They disagreed on the Paris Climate Accord. They disagreed on the Russian meddling. So, I mean, they were just too different. And yeah, they got along, but...
Do you think that Donald Trump making the incredibly controversial and seemingly last-minute decision to sit down with Kim Jong-un was all about putting Tillerson's nose out of joint, putting him in his place and diminishing him, like being like, hey, see what I've got here in my hand and I'm beginning to squeeze? This is your manberries. This is Rex's Tillerson that I hold here in my hand and they're nothing at all to me. Like I do, because if you look at the sequence of events, Rex Tillerson told American reporters that the U.S. was, quote, a long way from direct talks with North Korea. Mere hours later, Donald Trump was like, yeah, sure, I'll meet with Kim Jong. What the hell? Tillerson said what? He doesn't know anything. Squeeze them. I honestly think that's what happened. I think Donald Trump might be about to have a sit down with the head of a brutal dictatorship solely to make Tillerson look like a guy divested of his most manly of apparatus, divested of his most manly. Anyways, it was basically a smack in the face to Tillerson to agree to sit down with Kim Jong. I think this is a thing that happened. And like I said, he was dismissed in the same tweet. A, he was dismissed on Twitter. B, he was dismissed in the same tweet in which am I pronouncing the name right? Pompeo? Is that right?
Pompeo, right.
Yeah, the Pompeo was named his replacement. Same tweet. Like, he didn't even dignify Tillerson with his own 280 characters or whatever it is you're allowed on allowed on Twitter now. He was like, Tillerson's not worth a whole tweet. I'm going to say that he's no longer with us, thank him for the job that he did, and then announce how freaking great it is once his replacement gets here. Squeeze them.